All right, so we all know upsets happen in sports.
Yeah, of course. Part of the excitement, right?
Exactly. But sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes they're so huge, so unexpected, that they just become legendary, like etched in sporting history forever.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, those are the moments everyone remembers, right?
And today, that's exactly what we're diving into. One of those moments that, even decades later, still has the power to shock and amaze.
I am excited to hear this.
Today, we're talking about the 1950 World Cup final. You know, what they call the Maracanazo.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. The Maracanazo, that's serious stuff. I mean, you mentioned that to any football fan, especially in South America, and yeah, eyes widen, you know?
It's not just a game, it's a story.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to really try to unpack it, see what made it so monumental, why it still resonates today.
I mean, for some, especially younger fans, they might think of Germany's 7-1 win over Brazil in 2014 as the ultimate World Cup shock.
Oh, yeah, that was wild.
Totally. But 1950, that was different, almost like a cultural earthquake. It redefined what a sporting upset could be.
And it all went down in Brazil.
Hmm.
They were hosting the World Cup, and let me tell you, they were the clear favorites. Not just favorites, they were dominating.
Yeah. Every game just steamrolling the competition. The whole country was caught up in this wave of, I don't know, almost destiny.
Like it was already decided.
Exactly. It wasn't even a question of if they'd win. It was just when. And that's where things start to get really interesting.
So set the stage for us. What was the atmosphere like in Brazil leading up to this final match?
Well, imagine this. The day before the final, newspapers are already printing headlines like, Brazil world champions.
No way they were that confident.
Oh, absolutely. They even had a victory song already written, just waiting to be blasted after the final whistle.
They were so sure.
And get this, the World Cup trophy. They actually had it prepped, like almost engraved with Brazil's name, just waiting for the inevitable.
Oh, wow. Talk about tempting fate. So you have this entire nation on the edge of what they believe is guaranteed glory. But then, well, that's where the story takes this crazy, unexpected turn.
Yeah, what happened in Rio de Janeiro that day, it sent shockwaves through the entire world, not just the football world.
But before we get into the game itself, I think we need to talk about the sheer scale of this event. It was massive.
Right, absolutely massive. We're talking about a world record crowd.
How many people are we talking about?
Nearly 200,000 people crammed into the Maracanazo Stadium. It's like trying to picture a small city all squeezed into this one place just for this game.
Which, I imagine, created some interesting logistical problems, to say the least.
Well, yeah. One thing our sources point out is that there weren't nearly enough toilets for that many people.
Oh, no.
200,000 people under the hot Rio sun. I mean, it's not hard to imagine things getting a little messy, especially with everyone downing beers and hot dogs, you know?
Yeah. Makes you appreciate modern stadium planning. So this wasn't just a game, it was a huge national event, like a giant party, everyone expecting Brazil to win. And that feeling, that certainty of victory, it was everywhere.
Oh, totally. The day before the final, the mayor of Rio, he throws this huge celebratory parade.
Before the game even happened.
Yeah, like he's already congratulating them, calling them world champions. Talk about confidence.
It's unbelievable.
So,
and what about the players? Did they buy into all this hype?
I mean, how could they not? Even their families were caught up in it. They were all invited to this fancy hotel, ready to celebrate the win. The whole thing was just surreal.
And did anyone try to, temper expectations or anything?
You know, there's this story about the mayor. Just before the game, he goes into the locker room to give the players a pep talk.
A pep talk? What did he say?
Well, what he said, looking back, is kind of disastrous. His exact words, according to our sources, were, "Gentlemen, you are already world champions."
Oh, wow. Talk about pressure.
Right. I mean, imagine being a player, hearing that. It's meant to be inspiring, but it also puts this crazy weight on their shoulders. Like they're not allowed to lose.
So the stage is set. The whole country is holding its breath. The game kicks off. And at first, it seems like everything's going according to plan, right?
Yeah. Brazil comes out strong, dominating possession, creating chances. They were playing with that swagger, you know, like a team that knew they were going to win.
But then something unexpected happens.
Yeah. Despite all the chances, the first half ends. 0-0.
Yeah.
No goals. And I think maybe, just maybe, that planted a tiny seed of doubt. Like, wait, this isn't as easy as we thought.
But surely they must have scored in the second half. I mean, come on, it's Brazil.
Oh, they did. 47th minute, Friasa puts the ball in the net. The whole stadium explodes. Relief, joy, pure celebration.
So that's it, right? Game over.
Oh, remember, the tournament format was a bit different back then. Brazil didn't need to win outright. A draw was enough to secure the championship.
So 1-0 up, needing only a draw, it seems like it's all but over.
You'd think so, right? But here's the thing. The Uruguayans, they weren't just going to roll over. They had fought hard to get to the final, and they weren't done yet.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
This is where we get to that moment that defines the Maracanazo, the silence.
It's chilling, reading about it.
Yeah.
So picture this. The Maracana, packed with 200,000 screaming fans. The noise is deafening. Then, in the 66th minute, Juan Schiaffino scores for Uruguay. Equalizer.
And what happens?
Silence. Total silence. 200,000 people just stunned. One of our sources compares it to that awkward silence at a dinner party when someone says something totally inappropriate. Like the air just gets sucked out of the room.
So at 1-1, Brazil's still in a good position, right?
Technically, yes. But the momentum had shifted. Uruguay could sense the doubt creeping in. And then, just when it seemed like the game was heading for a draw, disaster strikes for Brazil.
This is it, the moment everyone remembers.
79th minute, Alçaes Gigia, he gets the ball on the right wing.
And
He runs with it, cuts inside, and takes a shot. Goal. Uruguay takes the lead. 2-1.
unbelievable. So what happens next? The crowd. What do?
The silence deepens. It's like the entire stadium is in shock. 200,000 people who just minutes ago were on top of the world now. Utterly silent.
That's a powerful image. So the final whistle blows, Uruguay are world champions. What was the reaction in Brazil?
Imagine a national mourning. People were crying, fainting. Some even suffered heart attacks from the shock.
It must have been devastating. What about the players?
The captain, Augusto da Costa, he just collapsed on the pitch, overwhelmed with grief. And the rest of the team, they had to walk home alone. Nobody wanted to be seen with them. The public anger was that intense.
And then there's the tragic story of the goalkeeper, Barbosa.
He became the scapegoat, blamed for the loss for the rest of his life. It's heartbreaking. He once said that the maximum prison sentence in Brazil was 30 years, but he felt like he'd been paying for that one game for 50.
That's just awful. The weight of that one game, it's unbelievable. So beyond the immediate shock, what was the lasting impact of the Maracanazo?
Well, it changed Brazilian football forever. One of the most obvious changes was the jersey. They ditched the white shirts they wore in 1950 and adopted the iconic yellow and green we know today.
Really? It all stems from that loss.
It was a way to distance themselves from that painful memory, a fresh start. And Giggia, the Uruguayan hero who scored the winning goal, he had a pretty famous quote about silencing the Maracana.
Oh, right. What was it?
He said, "Only 3 people have ever silenced Maracana: the Pope, Frank Sinatra, and me."
I guess, in a way, he's right. He did something truly remarkable.
Absolutely. And, some people even started to believe that the stadium itself was cursed after that defeat.
A cursed stadium.
Yeah, it sounds crazy, but that's how deeply that loss affected people. And in 1958, before Brazil finally won their first World Cup, they actually brought in a priest to cleanse the stadium, to get rid of the bad spirits,
Wow. I mean, that shows you the kind of impact this game had. It went beyond just football. It became a national trauma.
It did. And it even went as far as the government considering a national day of mourning after the game.
Really? A national day of mourning.
Yeah, it's wild. But that just shows how much this game meant to the people of Brazil.
So in the end, what can we learn from the Maracanazo? What's the takeaway here?
Well, for me, it's a story about expectations. About never celebrating too early, never taking victory for granted. It's a reminder that in sports, in life, nothing is certain until it's over.
It's a powerful lesson. And I think it goes beyond just sports, right? I mean, we've all experienced that feeling of having something we thought was certain just slip away.
Absolutely. Whether it's a business deal, a relationship, those moments when reality doesn't match our expectations, they can be tough.
And I think the Maracanazo, even though it's just a football game, it captures that feeling perfectly. It's a reminder that even in moments of seeming certainty, there's always a possibility of the unexpected.
And that, I think, is part of what makes life and sports so captivating.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the Maracanazo. Thanks for joining us.
It was a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring and never stop questioning.
And never celebrate too early.